The metallic snap of a padlock still haunts me. That was the sound of my moving truck being chained to a mailbox by the one woman who thought she owned not just our neighborhood, but our lives. Her name? Karen Pettin, HOA president, suburban dictator, and my personal nightmare. My name is Dalton Reed. I'm 58, a contractor by trade, widower by cruel fate, and until recently, a resident of Meadowbrook Estates, a neighborhood that looked perfect on the outside but was rotting from within. 2 years ago, cancer stole my wife Sarah. Her coffee mug still sits on the kitchen counter. Her reading glasses still rest on the nightstand. Every corner of that house whispered her absence. I couldn't breathe there anymore, so I bought a cabin near Lake Hartwell, Sarah's favorite fishing spot. We'll retire there someday, she used to say. Well, Sunday came without her. Selling the old house was supposed to be my path to peace, but peace and Meadowbrook Estates never belonged in the same sentence. Not while Karen Pettin ran the HOA. Karen wasn't just a president. She was a tyrant in heels. She fined neighbors for grass an inch too high, measured Christmas lights with a tape measure, and once billed a woman $50 because her marigolds were yellow instead of approved white. So when I submitted my moving notice 30 days in advance, fees paid, everything by the book, I expected a rubber stamp. Instead, Karen smirked at me across the boardroom table. Insufficient community impact assessment? What the hell does that mean? I asked. It means you need a certified HOA transition consultant. Her smile widened. Luckily, my sister Brenda is available. Cost? $2,500. It wasn't policy, it was extortion. I refused, and that's when the revenge began. Cones appeared in my driveway overnight. Unauthorized relocation zone signs popped up like weeds. She mailed lies to my buyer. Mr. Reed is fleeing outstanding debt. Then came the Facebook smear campaign. Dalton Reed is abandoning his responsibilities. What kind of man runs away from commitments? 47 angry reactions. The betrayal tasted like burnt coffee. That night, my son Marcus called. FBI Special Agent Marcus Reed, Financial Crimes Division. Dad, this sounds like harassment. Just HOA drama, son. I can handle one middle-aged real estate agent. What she's doing could be federal crimes. I laughed. It's neighborhood politics, not the mafia. Sometimes there's no difference, he said. The movers arrived at 7. I'm licensed professional legal. At 7:15, Karen stormed out in a bathrobe and curlers, screaming about illegal commercial vehicles. Ma'am, we're in visitor parking, the driver explained. I need to inspect every box for community property, she shrieked. I stepped outside. Community property? These are my wife's photo album. My tools, my furniture. Karen's eyes gleamed with something darker than pettiness. She disappeared into her mansion and returned 30 minutes later in full battle. Regalia, orange HOA vest, clipboard in hand, measuring tape swinging from her belt like a sheriff's revolver. 3 neighbors trailed behind her, faces pale, eyes down. Then came the chains. My moving truck clanked as she looped them around the bumper and locked them tight to her mailbox. You are in violation of Meadowbrook Estates Code Section 47B, unauthorized asset removal. She barked loud enough for the whole block. I pulled out my phone and started recording. The red light made her twitch. You're stealing community property. She pointed at my mailbox. That mailbox belongs to the HOA until exit procedures are complete. Karen, I installed it myself 8 years ago. The numbers on it were issued by community standards. Those numbers belong to us. She yanked plastic zip-tie cuffs out of her vest. I'm placing you under citizen's arrest. The driver shook his head, backing away. Lady, this is insane. I'm not getting involved. You're aiding and abetting a criminal, she screeched. But then I noticed something. Her backup wasn't loyal. They were scared. Tom shuffled his feet, sweat glistening. Tom, I called, still filming. Do you really believe I'm stealing my own mailbox? He swallowed hard. Karen said if I didn't support her, she'd fine me for my fence height. Mrs. Patterson, an elderly widow, whispered. She threatened to report my dog for noise. Bella's 12 and barely barks. Karen flushed red. They're lying. No, they were finally telling the truth. The mover spoke up, grinning. You know, she offered me $200 earlier to accidentally damage your stuff. Said you were a deadbeat skipping town. Got it all on dashcam audio and video. Karen's jaw dropped. She stammered, words breaking apart like glass. That's when I remembered something. In Texas, you can only perform a citizen's arrest for felonies you personally witnessed, or misdemeanors involving immediate danger. Property disputes don't qualify. What Karen was doing wasn't enforcement. It was kidnapping. I called 911. She dialed 2, screaming into her phone about community assets under siege. The whisper that changed everything. As we waited, Mrs. Samantha, my kind neighbor who once brought me soup after Sarah died, shuffled over. Her voice trembled. Dalton, I need to tell you something important. She lowered her voice. Last month, Karen tried to seize my garden shed, said it violated setback requirements, brought official-looking papers, demanded I sign it over to the HOA. When I refused, she threatened daily fines. The puzzle pieces slammed into place. Karen wasn't just power-hungry. She was systematically stealing property. And Sarah, my late wife, had been investigating her before she passed. USB drives, bank records, years of hidden irregularities. My wife had died protecting this neighborhood from a predator. Sirens wailed closer. Karen's orange vest glowed in the morning sun, her hands still gripping the chain around my truck. She thought she had me trapped, but she didn't know that everything she'd done, from the bribe to the threats, was on camera. She didn't know that my wife had left me the evidence she couldn't finish. And she sure as hell didn't know my son was FBI. Those chains on my moving truck, they weren't keeping me prisoner. They were pulling her straight into the jaws of justice. If you've ever lived under an HOA, you know how crazy it can get. Mine just involved chains, bribes, and crime. Want to know what happened when the cops arrived? Subscribe to this channel so you don't miss the next chapter of the Karen vs. Dalton saga. And tell me in the comments, what's your worst HOA horror story?